Hey, Craig.
What up, Craig?
Craigie.
Craigie in the house.
So I've been messing with these Discord drop sounds to see if it works here.
Okay. Oh, gimme.
That's all I got. It only lets you do like 5 seconds.
Right.
Yeah, but I got this.
Wow, dude. Technology is amazing.
Oh. So anytime there's, anytime there's something I don't like in the movie, I'll just.
Great. So
No,
we
I'm
have a
not gonna.
soundboard. I just want to clarify here. We have a soundboard that does two things. It plays 5 seconds of Hands Up Around the World, and it makes a cow sound. Is that right? Yeah.
That's right.
Gimme.
All right.
What an intro.
I will try not to play either of those ever. Well, what I wanted to be able to play live that opening song, maybe to get us in the mood, but it just won't allow it, unfortunately.
What do you mean?
Well, like the whole song, or like the first maybe 30 seconds would be nice.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I want to hear
this show could just be listening to that song. We could just talk about it every week.
I am into that. Oh my god.
Cool.
My hands are up.
Hands are up. They're around the world too.
Absolutely.
How you doing, Tanner?
I'm good. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing great, man.
Welcome to the podcast.
That's right.
It's Milking the Franchise, the Cash Cow Chronicles, with me, Tanner, and
I'm Chris. When on this show we watch can you do it?
Movies.
Oh, I wanted you to do it on the soundboard.
Okay. Okay, we watch movies.
Nailed it. I think I also was thinking that our title is too short. We need to come up with some more stuff to add on to that.
It'll
way
get
too short. We've got 3 cow puns. We need like 6 or 7, I think. So keep thinking on that.
Yeah, titles, in my opinion, should be at least 10 plus words.
Oh, easy. Yeah, thanks for listening.
No, there'll be once we have more in jokes. We'll add more to it. By the way, I have a new segment that I'm going to debut at the end of the show.
Oh, I can't wait.
That is a cow pun. So, yeah, on this show we watch every movie in a franchise.
Yep.
We talk about how most likely those movies devolve into just a cash cow for for the production company, and it's milked for all it's worth.
Absolutely. And they usually start off pretty strong, which is what we saw last week. We decided to start this show with Indiana Jones, and the first movie was last week with Raiders of the Lost Ark. An absolute banger of a movie with a lot of stuff that I think we're going to see carried over into these other movies. And like Tanner said, those are the pieces of the franchise that kind of carry through. And today we're sitting down to talk about Indiana Jones #2, The Temple of Doom.
Mm-hmm. Before we get into that, one of our featured parts of the show is that we make a weekly survey.
Mm-hmm.
And we ask everyone to write in and come up with some funny prompts and fill out the questionnaire and participate in our podcast a little bit and help us write it, because we're lazy and we don't want to write any jokes ourselves.
Yeah, do our job. Come on, guys.
Get involved. It's fun.
They're quick surveys. Jump
Quick
jump on the one
surveys.
today and weigh in on the movie number 2. But I think we got some responses from the first movie. Is that what you're leading into here, Tanner?
That's where I'm going.
I love it.
Yeah, so let's see. Last week we watched Raiders of the Lost Ark. We had a couple just brief questions. What was your favorite iconic moment from the movie? The winner of that, I'm not going to go over all the options, but the winner was the Boulder Run opening scene. Classic moment in cinema history. Not
Absolutely.
just Indiana Jones history, but yeah, everything. And then favorite Indiana Jones character trait / item, the whip. People love those whips.
Whew.
Whips and chains excite everybody. It sounds like
gets my BDSM going, you know?
Yeah. So of course that was the winner. Some of the other things on that list, I will say, we got the hat. Indy's hat was a good one. The fact that he hates snakes. His job as an archaeologist, very cool. And then him being a ladies' man. But anyway, the next one was
all those
prompt.
things together, you get an Indiana Jones.
Oh my God, you got a stew going.
You got a stew going, baby. Yeah.
All right. So now we got some written prompts. What's another odd or geeky profession that could make for a fun adventure franchise, and why? Some of my favorite answers we got here: a postman.
Ooh.
Sexy little shorts, knows all about addresses. I like that.
Oh,
there
man.
was
Just
a movie called he's got hoes in all those area codes.
That's right. And he delivers their letters.
There was a movie called The Postman with Kevin Costner, but I don't think it's the same thing at all. I think it's like a Civil War movie or something. Anyway, so this one I think is a movie as well, but Librarian. This one has like names of titles. So Librarian, it says Readers of the Lost Book.
Good. Yes.
But I think there actually is a movie that was either made for TV movie or something called like The Librarian, and it's a Indiana Jones style series.
Really?
So that one was just completely stolen. And spoiler alert, I wrote that and forgot about that.
I would like to see that.
I think
is the second idea there Temple of the Dewey Decimal System?
Oh, yes. Should be. Then we got Biologist, The Dolphin of Destiny.
Good.
And a Video Store Clerk, Renters of the Last Film. Very cool. So okay, now this one was a little confusing maybe in the way I wrote it, but there's a girl in Indiana's classroom in the movie that had "love you" written on her eyelids, effectively saying "I love you," using the I as the first word, I guess. Come up with another thing that you would write on your eyelids. Example, eyes to meet you. And this one is really great.
The one you put in the prompt is the worst one. I hope we were able to outdo eyes to meet you.
I don't know about that.
Okay.
Then we got Pupil Me Daddy.
Ooh.
I don't quite. Am I missing a pun there?
No, I don't think so. I think I wrote that one. It's not great.
It's pretty good.
It might even lose to eyes to meet you.
It's funnier than that. Then this one is I got a little weird with it. Full disclosure, by the way, we don't have any fans yet, so we are writing these responses.
Absolutely.
And hopefully we'll have a lot more. It gives us a lot of joy in our bad movie group when people fill these out. And we have a bunch of responses that are funny.
These jokes aren't all great. Like Tanner and I aren't knocking these out of the park. So jump in and play with us, you know?
Get in the water. It's warm.
Come on in. The water's fine.
Speaking of warm water in the pool, the first one is I need to use the bathroom. Can I be excused, please?
You'd really need like a fine point Sharpie to get all that on your two eyelids.
I know. I thought it was being so funny by making it a long sentence.
I like it. Yeah.
And then, you'd have that in your classroom and you wrote that on your eyelids.
Mhm.
That's crazy. That's absurd.
Just absurd.
And then the next one is like, when you're in an intimate moment and you don't know how to say this at the right time. And it says, I have an STD. Can you wear a rubber?
That's a different angle to take at the Indiana Jones character,
Well, that's
they
a
never
hard
address
thing to
that
bring
in these
up.
movies.
It's a hard thing to bring up, but you want to make sure you communicate with your partner. And
Absolutely.
I just think,
communication's important.
What better way?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to say it.
You just write it on your eyelids.
Exactly. Which, by the way, that's a feat in and of itself, right?
Yeah,
Writing
do you think
on
that
your
girl
own
did it
eyelid?
in the mirror? Because then you'd have to write it all backwards. Or did she have a friend do it?
I think she had a friend do it, or she's just insane and spent like hours and hours trying to figure it out.
Okay.
So the next prompt is, besides a whip, what would your adventure weapon of choice be? We got a zip line. It takes a while to set up each time, but it's always worth it. I like that.
Solid payoff with a zip line. Yeah.
Taking 10 minutes to set up a zip line.
You got to make sure the anchors are set, and it's a heavy metal cable you carry around. It's a whole thing, but
you're in the middle of a fight and just like, hold on.
Uh-huh.
And then the next two, we got my belt. It's sort of like a whip, but I would take it off suggestively.
Ooh.
And then a bag of sand to throw sand in bad guys' eyes.
And then like run away while there's sand in their eyes?
Yeah, anytime they come up, you reach into your side pocket there, and it looks like you're going to pull out a whip or a gun or something cool, but it's just like some sand, and you toss it in their eye.
How much sand are we talking? How big is this bag?
A lot. It weighs you down.
It weighs you down? Okay.
Honestly, it's probably not worth it.
I mean, what are you going to throw at bad guys' eyes then? Your imagination? No, you got to have that sand.
No, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's mostly the end of the survey here. We asked you to rate Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark on a scale of a 0 being, what was the prompt on that? Rate Indiana Jones.
I remember 10 was face meltingly good, but I can't remember what we had for 0.
So we got face meltingly awesome as the far end, the 10 out of 10, and then snakes as the bottom end.
Perfect. Yeah.
Because snakes are just the worst in this universe. All right, let's talk about Temple of Doom.
Wait, what did it score?
100%, 10 out of 10. Well, it was actually out of 5, so, but top rating.
The same ratio,
Exactly.
Yeah. Great film. Really, really fun first one.
So good. Definitely warranted this sequel here.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about before we get into the Doom?
No, man. Let's jump into Doom. A film that answers the question, what if we just made a movie that was an amusement park ride?
Ooh, yeah. I like that. Did they make a Disneyland ride out of this movie?
I don't think so. I think there's just one for Raiders.
Yeah.
But when I was watching through this, like all the little like mining cart scenes and all the ridiculous props and the cult scenes, it was just like, this is like Casa Bonita, or like, it just feels like an amusement park ride to me.
I did see that the sound effects for the roller coaster or the minecart scene were filmed at the roller coaster in Disneyland.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't, this company wasn't owned by Disney until, 30 years later. So, but anyway.
And now Disney owns everything, including this podcast. Shouts out Disney.
Shout out to Disney.
That's
our
not
favorite.
True. They don't own our
all
podcast.
Our favorite cow cartoon character.
Exactly.
Mickey the cow.
Mickey the cow. Yeah, let's jump into the Doom.
Let's do it.
Cool.
Where do you want to start here?
Well, I think we need to start with Anything Goes in Shanghai, China.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Starts out with a musical number with
it
our
does.
female protagonist,
Mhm.
Willie.
Willie.
Dancing and singing Anything Goes in half English, half Chinese. Is that right?
It was mostly just Chinese, but then the words Anything Goes were still in English.
Yeah, I was confused why we were starting the movie this way, but she is performing for some rich guy. So I think that's what it was.
It was like at a Chinese club.
Yeah.
Right? There's a little scene, there's a little Easter egg later. It's revealed to be Club Obi-Wan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Little shout out to the writer, George Lucas, and star Harrison Ford. But everybody's back. We got John Williams back, Harrison Ford, no Marion, but most of the other big players from the first movie are back. And we set the stage in this Shanghai club with our new love interest, Willie, doing a song and dance number. And like you said, there's a rich guy. I didn't catch his name, but we don't really see much of him.
Lao Che.
Lao Che, thank you. Yeah, and he's sitting at a table with Indiana, and they've got the sweetest Lazy Susan, one of those spinning circles where you can just turn it and it sends stuff to the other side of the table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like 90% of the table.
Yeah. And Indiana has hunted down the remnants of some ancient Chinese king, and he is selling them to Lao in exchange for this enormous diamond. Yep. So the ancient Chinese king goes on the Lazy Susan. They spin it. The gold coins come back. Or I did that wrong. Gold coins go first. And then Indy's like, no way, I want the diamond. So they just keep spinning this table, passing stuff back and forth. Indiana gets this big diamond, and Lao gets this ancient king. But Lao has poisoned Indiana's drink. So he's about to die.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
He poisons the drink, and then does he offer him the antidote in exchange for the diamond back? Is that what it was?
I think that's what it was, but then he didn't give it back.
Yeah, of course not.
Lao's a mean guy.
Oh, he's a bad boy.
He's a real bad boy in this scene. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And then there's randomly one of the waiters was Indiana Jones's buddy, and instantly gets murdered.
Yeah, right away.
How did he come into play at all in that scene?
They shot him. Well, he's the one who had the ancient, like, the remnants of the king. But yeah, he gets shot immediately, and it's covered up by champagne bottles popping. So the club is none the wiser at this point. But very quickly this scene devolves into just a super manic, pretty campy chase where both the diamond and the antidote are getting kicked all over the floor.
Yeah, balloons are dropping out of the ceiling. Giant fight scene. You find out that Kate Capshaw is the actress. Willie is this guy's girlfriend, right? Or some kind of girl in his life. And Indy threatens to kill her if he doesn't give him the diamond or give him the antidote. And he wants nothing to do with her. He says, I'll find another girl. So that's kind of like the spark that makes them go off together, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's guys with guns who are kind of shooting at both of them. And yeah, you're right. Like, they end up running away. Willie has snagged the antidote, but they leave the diamond behind and escape out the window while hiding behind a giant gong to block the bullets.
Classic.
So we know we're in China, because otherwise, how would you know?
I was confused until I saw that.
Right, the giant gong really gave it away.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like you said, campy stuff. There's one shot of like someone punching, and it's in like a first person. They were really trying like a lot of different things out in this movie.
Yeah, I agree. Are you talking about the one Indiana Jones just punches this poor woman in the face who's unrelated to anything? It seems like she's just like a snack vendor or something. Did you catch that?
I missed that. No,
Okay.
no, I didn't.
Okay.
But
Not
no,
a
the one I
super
was talking
important
about, it was
detail,
like
but I was
it
just
was
like, what
from
did she
the
do? That poor woman.
it was from the Fist perspective. There was like just a shot, just a directorial fun little shot that he was doing or something.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
thought
yeah.
it was interesting. Just one quick first person punch.
Yeah, and then this scene kind of wraps up. Like I said, they jump out a window, fall through some like awnings. Is that the word I'm looking for here? Some like cloth awnings, and land in a car.
Yeah.
Where we're introduced to the other character that kind of follows us through this movie, Short Round.
Yep. He's got blocks on his shoes and he's driving a car.
Yep, he's like 10-year-old little Asian kid. It's the same kid from Goonies. And yeah, and they there's a pretty fun chase scene that kind of leads through Shanghai and ends up in at an airport. And we kind of get the little dynamic between these three main characters. Short Round, Willie, and Indy.
The dynamic is him always screaming Mr. Jones, and her always just screaming at the top of her lungs.
She seems very unhappy to be there throughout the entire movie, and they made her character so shrill. Yeah,
very shrill and just like annoying, and always angry and pissed off about something.
Yes, really made you miss Marion from the first movie immediately.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And I was surprised because I looked ahead at the next movie too. I seem to remember Marion being in more of these movies, but she's really only in the first one. And then I guess the fourth one or whatever that came out way later.
Right. Yeah, I haven't seen Last Crusade in a long time. I don't remember who the love interest is in that one.
Yeah.
Okay, but we'll find out next week.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it comes to Lao Che's air freight, which is his he says goodbye, Lao Che, or something like that, and shuts the door, and it has Lao Che's name on the plane. So the guy kind of laughs, and Indy doesn't know it, but he thinks he's escaped in this plane full of chickens.
Yep, a poultry plane.
Poultry plane. And he falls asleep. And a little bit later, like quite a while later...
Yeah, we get that Indiana Jones thing where they're flying, and there's a red line across the map. That happens here.
Yeah.
And they fly from... Go ahead.
Well, I just couldn't tell why they waited so long. Because, like, so the pilots of this plane end up jumping out of the plane and leaving it just flying with no pilot. And obviously to kill Indiana Jones, right? Or was it to make him crash in a specific area where he needed to go, where they wanted him to be? They had nothing to do with the rest of the story, right?
Correct. There's no more Lao Che the rest of the movie.
Okay, so they were just trying to kill him, but they waited till they went through like two other countries. Like
they flew all the way across mainland China.
They flew like 6 hours before they decided to crash the plane.
And also, I had the same thought. And also, it seems like a really expensive way to kill somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they could have
all those chickens are worth. That's worth a lot of money. All that chicken.
Yeah, in a plane, dude.
They didn't even talk about how many chickens they killed.
Those poor birds. What if?
Oh, the plane too. Yeah, that's probably expensive. But
yeah, but like they could have just shot him. Bullets are cheap, or just thrown him out of the plane. That's free.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that he would have gotten out of that somehow.
Probably. But used his whip, fallen 500 feet, and used his whip on a tree branch, and he would have been fine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But of course, there's no way to get out of a crashing plane, right?
Well, I thought no until I saw this film.
Oh, by the way, just real quick before they took off at the airport, quick little cameo. Did you see who it was?
I missed it.
Dan Aykroyd is like the guy who chauffeurs him into the plane.
Really?
For whatever reason, he says like one or two lines. Dan Aykroyd is there. Yep.
The Blues Brother himself.
Yeah, Blues Brother 1.
Huh, okay. Elwood Blues. Wasn't that his name? Elwood? I think I got that right.
I think so. Elwood DeGeneres, I think, is what.
Elwood. She's canceled, bro.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Yeah, so so they're flying in a plane over India, and the pilots have jumped out while after pulling a dump fuel switch. So the engines die, and it really looks like Indy's in trouble. He's about to crash into the side of a mountain.
It's just like a pull lever to dump all the fuel out of the plane right on the main frame. It seems way too easy to accidentally hit that.
Yeah. It's like right in the middle of the dashboard, and it's written in English.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And he tries to fly the plane. He sits down and doesn't know what he's doing, and comes up with a new plan.
Yeah. So they grab a flotation device, like a big yellow raft, like you would, I guess, find on an airplane, right? Where else would you use one of those?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And they jump out the plane. All three of them grab together. Short Round, Willie, and Indiana Jones jump out the plane with this yellow raft and pull the ripcord on the float, and it inflates in midair, and they're able to slow their fall enough that they land safely.
Yeah, this is like a Fast and the Furious level stunt right here.
Yeah.
A lot of this movie, there's some wild stunts in it. This one's pretty crazy, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah. It's a pretty fun opening, and the raft lands on like the side of the snowy mountain, and we get a really bad CGI explosion as the plane runs into the side of the mountain. But the raft, immediately starts going too fast for them to jump out of it. So they're now sledding down this mountain in the raft.
Oh, and they sled it all the way down, and
all the way down,
all the way off of a huge cliff.
Off a huge cliff, exactly, and land in a river, and then kind of like whitewater raft down. And we get Willie at this point. Earlier in the movie, she had the line, "I burnt my fingers and I cracked a nail." And here she says, "I hate water and I hate being wet." So she's just really wet blanketing this whole adventure at this point.
Yeah, she hates everything.
Yeah, she's just not.
She said, I hate being wet and I hate you.
Yeah, she's not digging the vibe.
No.
On the side of the river, they spot this shaman, and they realize they're in India. And so they get out of the boat and follow this Indian shaman to a small village. Did you have anything else on that intro scene?
Nope. I don't think so. Yeah, it's setting up. He's in India now, India Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And they find out that at this little village, it's very poor. Everyone's starving. They feed them this like paste on a banana leaf or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. And Willie refuses to eat it, and she's being rude. Just another scene with her being annoying, kind of. But they find out that there's this stone in the village, and the stone was stolen by some place called the Palace at Pankot, right?
Yep, the Pankot Palace.
Pankot Palace. So somebody from there came and stole this stone, and then after that, the kids were gone, and all the kids in the village were missing, and like their crops disappeared or stopped growing or something, right? So they believe that there's something mystical or magical going on with that stone.
They need its powers for the village to be a happy place and run its potential. Yeah.
They want Indy to go find it, so they think it was fate that Indy crash landed there. What are they called? The Sankara stones?
Is that what it was? I got Sivalinga.
There's multiple terms. There's like a Shiva is one of the gods or something, and then there's Sankara or Shankara, something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know.
Either way, there's a magical stone. There's 3 lines on it, and it makes the village go. And it's been missing, and all the kids are missing too. And so instead of securing them a trip to Delhi so that they could fly home, the shaman kind of sends them to Pankot Palace to find this stone and bring back the kids from the village.
And another great line from Willie in this scene. Once she finds out they're going to Pankot, she says, "I can't go to Pankot. I'm a singer."
Mm-hmm.
So
Or I can't go to Delhi like this. I need to call my agent. Is there a phone? Yeah.
Yep. She's a specific type. They definitely were trying to make her annoying, though. It's not
Yeah.
like
And mission accomplished. They really ramped that up.
So they get on elephants and they head to Pencott. Is there anything I
Yeah, they
missed
do.
in that little exposition setting everything up scene?
Say that again.
Is there anything I missed during the exposition?
No.
scene
I think that's right.
Yeah.
So now we're camping. And Indy's playing poker with Shorty, and Willie is kind of freaking out about all the wildlife all around them.
Yeah. She's really like the opposite of Marion. They just went completely like Marion's like this tough chick who drinks a lot and like drinks people under the table and is completely, self-sufficient, hardworking and just like tough. She screams a lot too in that movie, but not as much as this girl, A lot of indie help me kind of stuff, but for the most part she's a lot tougher than Willie is.
Yeah. And so we see, there's bats, there's bugs, there's a snake that freaks out Indiana Jones because again, that dude does not like snakes. And I don't know, this scene was fine, just like a little exposition. I did realize like there's not much archaeology going on in this movie.
Yeah.
Like I loved in the first one, they did such a good job of like setting this up by, Indiana Jones being a professor and the CIA comes to him. But this one, he's just kind of thrown into the action. And we are as viewers too, just kind of like partway through. There's not a lot of archaeology going on.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's considered archaeology if you're finding, first of all, the ashes of an emperor. I guess sort of. It's a lost artifact, an old urn. And then these like random stones, right? It's not like, I don't know. The other ones are like, it's the Ark of the Covenant. And then the other one's like the Holy Grail. Like they're these big, massive, legendary things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But,
and they're after the, what did they say in here? It's the Fortune and Glory.
Fortune and Glory.
Fortune and Glory. Yep.
During that camping scene, he does say the biggest trouble with her is the noise. Referring to her screaming, like this whole scene, I feel like she's screaming in, and they're kind of just ignoring her and playing poker.
Yep, that's about right.
You find out that Indy found Short Round because he tried to pickpocket him.
Oh yeah, and that's why he brought him along. Yep.
Yeah.
And so they wake up in the morning and head off to Pencott Palace. Dun dun dun.
Bum bum bum. Yeah, there's all these massive vampire bats, like the hugest bats. Oh, that's another scene where like she like comes face to face with this giant, ridiculous looking bat.
Yeah, accidentally picks it up thinking it's a piece of clothing.
I missed that. I missed that was the reason why.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they get to this palace. All their guides leave them. There's also a scene where Short Round like squirts, or the elephant squirt. Oh, okay. So she's riding on this back of this elephant during this travel, and she's pouring perfume on its back because it smells so bad. And there's multiple references or like moments of her pouring perfume on the back of this elephant. And at one point, it like squirts her with water, right, or dumps her off. I can't remember which.
I think both.
Yeah, and Short Round finds that very funny. And there's a callback to it later in the movie.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's these massive vampire bats. They're guides, they're Sherpas or whatever they're called. Get scared at a certain point and they run away and they take their elephants and everything and leave them. And Indy says, "We're walking from here."
Mm-hmm. And they do just that. So they walk up to Pencott Palace and we meet kind of this. His name is Chatter Lal, but he's very well educated Indian guy who's kind of running things at Pencott Palace. He knows Indiana Jones from his archaeology career and invites them to stay for dinner and stay the night. And we also meet Colonel Blumbutt.
Is that his name?
That was the British colonel.
Yeah, that guy
And I don't know. There's a
was bad
callback to this
too.
at the end. This movie is kind of funny. Like it tries to play colonialism both ways. Like they call out colonialism in this scene for being like bad and like English people should not have made India a colony. But then like later in the movie, the English save everyone.
They saved the day. Yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of portrays the Indian people, at least at Pankot Palace, as like these barbarians who are like eating monkey brains. And I don't know, it doesn't it tries
Yeah.
to play both sides of it, and I don't know if it's very successful.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, some countries eat a lot of weird stuff, but this they tried to make it like way too crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they really made it sound like they were like savages or whatever.
Oh yeah, I mean they're sucking the goo out of beetles, and there's the snake surprise. Do you want to talk about the snake surprise?
Yeah. This giant snake is sat down in front of Willie, and somebody says snake surprise, and it's just this giant snake, and they cut open its belly, and there's more snakes inside of it, live snakes inside of the belly of this other snake.
A culinary delight, I'm sure.
a snake ducking.
That's right.
Yeah, and so there's that, and everyone else is grossed out. Like, do you have any soup? She asked for. Oh, they're eating these beetles too, like these giant beetles. What are those things called? Those giant beetles? I couldn't think of the name.
I think the word scarab, but I might
Scarab.
be wrong.
That's what I was looking for. Yep. And someone says to her, "Not eating," and she says, "I had bugs for lunch."
Mm-hmm.
And she asks, "Do you have anything like normal, like soup or something?" And so they bring her out some soup. She's all excited, picks it up. Oh, smells it! It smells good, even. And then sticks her spoon in there, and eyeballs come floating up to the top.
Ew! Gross.
Ew! Eyeballs too. I don't know what kind of animal they're from, or if they're people eyeballs. But then the delicacy for dessert comes out, and it's just a monkey's head, a really cheesy looking monkey head. You take the top off the head; it's already cut, and there's monkey brains inside, and everyone's just loving it.
Yeah.
And that makes her pass out, of course.
In true Willie fashion. Yep. It fits her character. But the other thing going on at dinner, there is a conversation between. There's a young Maharaja who's kind of like the leader of this temple, but there's a conversation between Indy and the British colonel and the guy who welcomed them to Pankot Palace, where they kind of talk about colonialism, but also like this cult, the Thuggee cult, that has not, according to them, has not been seen in India for hundreds of years. But they were savages and they were just bad guys before the British showed up. So that is kind of mixed in with this, I don't know, like Fear Factor style dinner. We get some,
Yes, I saw
we get
that.
some background on this Thuggee cult, and like little bit of that mixed in. They're little laying the groundwork for later in the movie.
I like the Fear Factor thing. That's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw.
I was half
the
expecting
scene, they were like
to pop out and like make Willie eat like a donkey penis or whatever they used to do on that show.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
Yeah.
I feel like they could have had a Fear Factor episode where it was just like, let's eat all the things from the Temple of Doom. Right?
Yeah.
Just like an Indiana themed episode. I saw during this scene, they were like, how do we make this exposition scene interesting? And that was their idea, was to make them eat all these gross things during the dinner scene and make it as gross as possible. So they're basically trying to just spice up this boring exposition scene. So much so to me that I missed all of this information and was just like thinking about the food.
Like it completely drowned out the table setting that's going on.
Yeah, I wasn't listening to any of this other stuff.
That's funny.
So I guess it kind of worked.
Yeah. It's a very memorable scene. I don't know if it's in a good way.
Yeah. Right. Um, yeah. Is there anything else from that? Any other plot points that you want to add?
Yeah, that's about it. They just kind of mention that this cult exists. And then we go after dinner, they kind of return to their quarters. And Indy and Willie come very close to shacking up. They're up until this point, they've had like zero chemistry. They seem to kind of openly resent one another. But here they're about to get down.
It's still in a very resentful way. Like it's this weird cat and mouse kind of style flirting, right? Where it's just like
Yeah.
it's like I hate you, but I know you want to fuck me or something like that.
Yeah,
That's basically the
definitely.
tone of it. Um, and like both of them can't believe that the other one doesn't want them, right?
Yeah, they're
'Cause
both too hard headed to
they're
like,
both too hard headed and too sexy to be like, there's no way this person doesn't want to fuck me.
yeah. I mean, what do you after a full tummy full of monkey brains, you got to get down. Like stuff's an aphrodisiac.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, well,
So you know they're feeling each other.
he
Yeah.
brings her a fruit plate, and that's
He
what
does
kind of
bring her a
like
fruit plate.
wins
That's
her
true.
over a little bit. He brings her a
Mhm.
fruit plate, and she's still rude about it, even though he did something pretty nice and got her some decent food. Um, so you want to go over some of the things that they say during this scene?
Oh, I didn't write any of them down. So if you've got
Oh
them, I'd love to
man,
hear them.
this is going to be one of our prompts for the survey. So it starts off. He's like, "You wear your jewels to bed, princess," and she says, "Yeah, and nothing else." Does that shock you? Nothing shocks me. I'm a scientist. Um, what sort of research would you do on me? And then it proceeds to like make like these scientific sounding sex innuendo pun things.
Yeah.
And there's
I
like
remember
five of them.
nocturnal activities. We're getting there,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, start thinking about what are some scientific sounding sex
Ooh.
innuendo/puns that you can think of. Some of the things that come up here that he's going to study are nocturnal activities.
Hmm.
And she says, "You mean like what sort of cream I put on my face at night?"
Not
Which
what he
is
meant. That was not what he
kind
meant.
of very filthier than maybe it was supposed to sound. And then
Come on, Tanner.
so
This
she's
thing's
like,
PG.
"Oh well, we'll talk about that in a minute." And she's like studying what positions I like to sleep in, and then he's like mating customs, love rituals, primitive sexual practices. Um, and then I think they kiss right after he says that, and she
I mean,
says,
how could you not?
she says
Like
something
me,
like,
yow.
oh, "I'm horny."
Yeah.
Um, she says something to the effect of like, "Are you how schooled are you in this activity or whatever?" And he's like, "I'm very well researched," or something like that. And then he says like, "I'll find out. I'll let you know in the morning if it was good or if the research is good or something like that."
Hmm.
And she doesn't like that. So then she kicks him out and says, "I'm not
Right.
that easy, Mr.
After
Jones."
all that other stuff, that
Yeah,
was a bridge too far.
I know exactly.
Yeah.
She's like, "I'm not that easy," even though she was trying to fuck him. And they both are trying to fuck anyway. And she said, "In 5 minutes, you'll be back over here trying to." I don't really understand. She kicks him out, but then he says, "I'm not that easy either." And then she says, "We'll be back in 5 minutes." So then there's like this 5 minute waiting scene where they're both looking at a clock and like wondering if the other person, like talking to themselves, wondering if the other person's going to come over and bone with
Hmm.
them.
Hmm.
Anyway, a very silly scene. You mentioned, by the way, that this movie is PG. I think I touched on this last week. Before I forget,
You did,
this
yeah.
this was the movie, the catalyst for the PG-13 rating. It's obviously got some violence, a little bit of sexy stuff in here. It's not quite a rated R movie, but it's a little too much for just any old child to see. And it was the catalyst. The first movie was Red Dawn. So this came out in like May of '84. Red Dawn came out in August. That was the first movie to be released with PG-13.
Huh, okay.
So it was this movie and Gremlins also, which came out the same year, which was kind of like a little too much for PG.
But not quite to R.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's how we got that rating system, which just seems kind of normal to us now. But it's because of this.
It's the monkey brains and the will they won't they sex scenes.
So
yeah.
my point is, my joke that I made is very PG-13.
Mm,
Maybe it was a little R.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
So PG-13 jokes are okay now.
Yeah. To jump back in here, I felt like at this point they could have just let Indiana Jones and Willie sleep through the night and they would have left.
Yeah.
You know,
mean, like,
but instead they send a henchman. So like
yeah.
they have their little will they won't they sex scene, and while Indiana Jones is waiting on his 5-minute timer, like you mentioned, some big goon with a like a little rope pops out of the shadows and tries to strangle Indiana Jones.
Yeah, he was on the wall as paintings of like people, like men. It's like full size paintings all along the wall of like people, and he's like kind of camouflaged in those people as one of the paintings. I thought that was funny.
Very silly.
Yeah, so he gets attacked and strangled, and there's a little fight scene in there. And while this is happening, she's out there in the hallway yelling at him for not coming and boning her. Like she says, "I could have been your greatest adventure."
Mm-hmm.
And she's, it's adding to the comedy of the scene, I guess, while he's getting attacked. Trying to lighten it up a little bit.
Yeah. Got to keep it PG-13, or PG.
Yep.
Yeah, so she's in the hall freaking out. He's fighting off this attacker. And that scene kind of culminates with him using his whip to whip around that guy's neck before the other end of the whip gets caught in a ceiling fan, which like strangles that guy to death.
Yeah.
Pretty hardcore death.
Yeah.
Definitely. And again, I don't really understand how the whip works. I feel like, like how do those knots work? I don't get it still. I brought this up last week.
He knows how to whip.
Right? But I don't get it. I just don't understand.
Well,
I just know how to nay. I need to learn how to whip.
I know that about you.
Nice little 2014 joke for you there.
Yeah, so that happens, and he goes into Willie's room looking for somebody, and he's all like manic about it and looking around the room, trying to find another attacker in her room. And she's like, "I'm right here, Indy. I'm right here." Just really building their chemistry. Yeah.
Yeah, just
what happens
incredible
next?
Chemistry. Like it's dripping off the scenes.
Yeah, and still she doesn't realize, he doesn't say what's happening, and she doesn't realize what's happening, and she's like, "I'm right here, fuck me. And he goes over to this little statue and of like a naked woman on the wall, and grabs its breasts, and she gets like offended briefly, but then he pushes it in and it reveals a secret door.
Whoa.
Secret
door.
How did he figure that out?
I feel like he saw some wind. Like there was
he saw wind?
Yeah, there's like a wind blowing against some flowers, I think.
Okay, got it. So
they were like moving, and he's like, "Where's that wind coming from?" That's how I remember it. But I could be wrong.
So yeah, him and Short Round go into this little tunnel.
Yep.
And
Willie stays behind.
Yeah.
For now.
And the floor is moving, and they're wondering what all that crunching is on the floor. And he lights a tiny little match.
Mm-hmm. And Short Round thinks it's fortune cookies because they wanted to remind us that he's Asian, not Indian.
Right.
Or I'm sorry, that he is Chinese, not Indian.
Sounds like when you're walking across a floor full of fortune cookies.
That normal thing that everyone has experienced.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Every Chinese kid experiences that.
Yes.
Yeah, and it turns out it's a ton of bugs. Ew.
Ew, icky.
Bugs. Which leads them into another room. It's just another temple room. No bugs in here, but the doors close. I think Short Round hits like a switch or something, right?
Yeah, he steps on the wrong floor panel, so the doors close. And then Indiana Jones tells him to lean against the wall so he doesn't get in the way, and he pushes another panel, which leads to spikes coming out of the floor and spikes coming out of the ceiling, and the ceiling beginning to lower down. It's kind of like a spike. What's the thing from Matilda? The chokey. It's like a chokey, and it's closing in on him.
Sure.
Yeah.
Chokey.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that reference, but I'll take your word for it.
My apologies. Yeah. But anyway, spikes coming down from the ceiling, and they have limited time before they're crushed to death. And there's a bunch of other skulls and bones and remnants of other explorers who have come into this cavern that have not made it out alive.
And so they can hear each other. She can hear them screaming from the bedroom still, right? Because they're not that far away.
Right, and the tunnel is still open.
Yeah, so she hears them and is like, okay, I'm going to go save them. But she's screaming the whole time. She breaks a nail, and like she sees all the bugs, and she's so grossed out by all the bugs. And she somehow gets the door back open just as the spikes are like sticking through Indiana's hat, right? The brim of his hat, I think, gets stabbed. So right at the last second, she saves them. The door opens, and she is so grossed out and covered in bugs and runs into the spiky ceiling room that that she just saved him from. And it's like, get me out of that room, get me out of that room. And then she hits the switch again, and the doors close again.
Exactly. But this
happens.
time they're able to escape in time. So, short round goes through first, and then Willie and Indiana Jones, and he reaches back and grabs his hat just in time.
So this is definitely a callback. They got the traps and all the stuff, kind of like the temple scene from the first movie.
Big time. Yeah.
But this time they've got an annoying partner here screaming the entire time. And I did see that some little tidbits on Willie in this scene. I think it's a good time. She was covered in bugs during that entire filming scene. Those are real bugs, and she had to take sedatives in order to get through the filming of it.
Like the actress hated it too.
Yeah. I think to like dull her senses about it. She was obviously game for it, but at the same time needed something.
It was a lot of bugs. That would be really gross.
Yeah. That's more Fear Factor shit.
Yeah.
Also, it said, this is all IMDb stuff. I'm not verifying any of this info. I don't know Steven Spielberg. But she had to be taught how to scream for this movie, which I don't know what. That's all it says. She needed to be taught how to scream. So I don't really know if that means she'd never screamed once in her life, or if she needed to be taught how to scream on film.
It sounds to me like she wasn't shrill enough, and they just wanted her to turn that up to 11.
Louder, more annoying.
Yeah.
And she screamed a total of 71 times in this movie.
Oh my God.
IMDb as well. Another little trivia fact. I don't know if you saw this, but I didn't realize it till after I watched it. Kate Capshaw, who plays Willie, later marries Steven Spielberg.
Oh.
And is his current wife still.
Interesting. I had no idea. So this is his wife that's running around with Harrison Ford in this movie.
Yes.
And that's pretty cool. I had no idea.
Yep. Yeah, they got married like late 80s, so years after this.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure she's great. It's just her character in this movie, they really turned the annoying
She even said that I'm going to go off more Kate Capshaw stuff while I'm here. That she thought that her character was like a dumb, annoying blonde or something. Nothing more than that. And when she was promoting this movie on Johnny Carson in 1984, they had Siskel and Ebert on right after.
Okay.
On the same episode, reviewing the movie, which
that seems really cruel.
Exactly. And I don't know what the review of the movie was. It was probably good or fine, but they said that Kate Capshaw's performance is wimpy and annoying or something like that. Wimpy and whiny performance. And she's like, don't talk about me like I'm not here. Yeah.
Can you imagine if we had started this
awful.
episode with a quick interview with Kate Capshaw and then spent the first 5 minutes talking about how shrill her performance was?
Oh,
Yikes.
yeah, that'd be
Yikes, yikes,
funny.
yikes.
Yeah. So there we go. There's the Kate Capshaw roundup here.
Cool. Yeah. We'll
so
check
yeah,
back in with that on the next episode. There's any Kate Capshaw content from the Indiana Jones 3.
Yeah. So they get out of that room basically, and
Okay.
now they are where they're watching a ritual. Now they come across the ritual.
Yeah,
right?
they follow the tunnel a little farther and kind of pop out in this little viewpoint where they can see down into this really insane cavern.
Yeah.
Right, like across the way, there's this ritual going on, and there's a bunch of this thuggy cult that they had talked about at dinner, kind of watching this ritual. There's a lava flow that's separating the two sides, and on the other side is the ritual and this like thuggy priest, and we see them like kind of drag out this prisoner, put him in a cage, and the priest like puts his hand up against his chest and rips out his still beating heart and holds it in the air. It's insane.
Yeah, and if you're wondering about that PG-13 rating, this is why.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, this is not something that a child in the 80s should have seen. It's just wild.
Yeah, but then his the wound where his heart was taken out closes back up magically.
Yep.
And he's fine.
Yeah, he's still living.
Yeah,
so
he's
he
totally
was, like,
fine.
Screaming and experiencing, because then they lift this cage that he's locked in and like lower it into the lava, and he's screaming the whole time, even though his heart has been ripped out of his chest.
Yeah. And it gets closer and closer, and when he catches on fire, the heart catches on fire.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty cool. So I couldn't really tell if it was supposed to be an illusion, the heart, but I don't think so because it caught on fire when he did.
Yeah.
It's just supposed to be like black magic shit, right? It's just supposed to be unexplainable.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot of like voodoo elements to this movie, and this is a big part of that.
And was this before or after they show the three glowing stones, or the three stones, one of the stones that was taken from the village, there's now three of them, and they're placed inside this skull that's sitting there, this giant skull face.
What did that skull come from? I wanted to ask you this. The skull, just for reference, the skull is like probably 5 feet tall, maybe 6.
Yeah.
It's big enough for these like 8-inch stones to fit in both eye sockets in the nose hole. So do you have any theories what that skull came from, Tanner?
Probably like a giant, like a King Kong type creature. Like a giant gorilla. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that would work.
There you go.
I was thinking Robert Dazar.
Wow, nice reference. Could be.
That's probably I probably shouldn't have made that joke. He has kind of a growth issue, but
I think it's his skull that grew bigger than the rest of his body or something like that.
Great deal.
But he does have. Oh yeah. What was the movie that we watched with him in it that I can't recall right now?
Wasn't it Samurai Cop?
Samurai Cop. That was
it. Yeah.
But yeah, giant skull. It could have just been created as like a sculpture. I don't know if it was from something.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, it might just be showy. The interior decorator in this room really went hard with like the bones motif.
Yeah, a lot of random little, like, there's like shrunken heads on the guy's hat, and there's like all sorts of just crazy creature statue type things. So I think it was just like a statue skull, basically.
Yeah.
But it's placed in both eyeballs, all the stones, and then one in the nose. Yeah, one in the nose. And supposedly they're looking for 2 more, right?
Yes, we get that information just a little bit later, but you're right. They're collecting 2 more. And so,
but where would they go on this skull? In the mouth?
I don't know. I thought the same thing because
all the holes were filled.
Taken. all the holes are filled.
Where are you gonna put them stones?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's a second one off to the side we didn't see. Or maybe the ears. What about the ears?
Oh, the ears. That could be
Yeah.
just sticking out of there. All cute.
Yeah, just poking out to the sides.
Um, but yeah. So all this weird ritual goes down. The guy is sacrificed. And they watch this whole thing go down.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then everyone clears the room.
Yeah, and well, is this okay? They're talking about, yeah, everyone clears the room, and she's all like, she can't watch. She's like hyperventilating or whatever behind them. And then Indy says something about there being diamonds inside of these little statues.
Oh, she's into that.
They're all kind of like diamonds, and she's like, diamonds, and she perks up, and then she's totally fine after that.
Yeah. So now this room's empty, and Indy says he's going to go after the stones, and Willie drops the line, "You're going to get killed chasing after your damn fortune and glory." And Indiana Jones goes, "Maybe, but not today." Perfect kiss line. And then he uses his whip, lassos a thing, swings across the lava, and starts grabbing the stones.
Yep, there's kind of a similar moment where he like picks it up and it's glowing in his face, kind of like in the first movie. He finds the idol, and then they hear screaming. Oh yeah, there's some like he takes them and there's some like woman screaming or some like noises that he hears, right?
Yeah, so behind this room, Indiana Jones hears screaming, so he starts walking that way. And discovers like a mine, like an old timey mine with like mining carts and like kids with pickaxes, like digging for coal. And that is where this thuggy cult has been using the children that they've been kidnapping from all these villages to dig for the last two of these magical stones.
Yeah, I don't know why they decided to steal children. I mean, they're not. There's no way they're as effective as like enslaving grown men, but that's what they did.
Yeah.
And then so they all get kidnapped.
Make a note of that, Tanner. If you ever start a cult, like children are not as good in the mines as like older grown-ups.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I know.
Oh. Do you have a mine underneath your apartment in Seattle?
Yes.
Maybe. In the meantime, Shorty and Willie had kind of been watching from afar, and the cult members have found them. So they get grabbed. Indiana Jones throws a rock at one of the guards who's bullying these children in the mine. So he gets kidnapped too. So now all of our kind of main characters have been grabbed up by the thuggies. And
also, I love that they're
in trouble.
The thuggies. It's like thugs, you know, like
yeah.
It's very strange. Is that a real group of people somewhere?
I can't imagine it's real. I also looked up today because I was like, I have never heard of a volcano in India. There are no volcanoes in India. There's one on an island like hundreds of miles off the coast of India, but there is no volcanic activity in the continent or in the country of India. So, they might have taken a couple liberties when they were writing this movie. One or two.
Oh, definitely. And on that note, I'm just dropping all these facts early.
Get them in.
This movie is banned in India.
As it should be. The Indians are portrayed as these like horrible, murderous monsters. It's not a good look. Yeah.
It's much like how Borat was banned in
Kazakhstan.
But then later embraced, actually, because it brought a lot of tourism there. But it's I think it's still banned. I don't really know actually if it's still banned, but according to IMDb, it has been banned and it does not play on TV. And I did just look up Thuggy right now. Thuggy are actions and crimes carried out by thugs, historically organized gangs of professional robbers and murderers in India. So they are like a real, just like. The word for thugs in India is called a thuggy. I guess.
A thuggy. Okay.
Yeah. So they got that part. Well, I don't want to say right, but they used that correctly.
They used a word that gets used in India. We'll give them that much. Yeah. Okay.
It wasn't just some lame attempt at a reference. Thug reference.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so they get thrown in jail. And Indy is being forced to drink blood.
Yeah, this is the voodoo stuff. And so they kind of do some hand waving here where like if you drink this blood, you live in a nightmare and it makes you aren't really in control of your actions. And so they've made the kids work the mines by making them drink blood and they kind of take over Indiana as like a they turn
Yeah,
him
they
into
like
like this weird zombie by making him drink blood, right?
yeah, he's like possessed by what they
Yeah,
call
that's what I'm looking for. Thank you.
the black sleep.
Yes.
The black sleep of the Kai or something. Yeah. So yeah, you drink this blood, you become kind of their willing, I don't even know, slave or uh, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
And
They also have voodoo dolls. So like voodoo is a thing here too. So the little Maharaja is kind of a evil little twat, and he's got a voodoo doll of Indiana Jones that he stabs with a knife over and over again in this scene.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is the second time Indiana Jones has been poisoned in this movie, quote unquote.
Oh yeah, it is. I did not put that together.
Yeah, so he gets taken over. There's a scene of him kind of like writhing in pain and writhing in pain. Is that the right word?
Writhing. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's like on the ground and he's in pain, and then he gets up and kind of like laughs and smiles, like he's been taken over by the black sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And they send Short Round to be one of the child laborers.
Yep.
And they decide to sacrifice Willie.
There's a line in there where I just, based on everything we've already said about Willie, there's a line where the Indian priest goes, now she will not talk. And it cuts to Indiana Jones's face and he just has this big grin on his face. And I thought it was kind of funny.
Was that before he was brainwashed?
No, it was after he was brainwashed. After. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so then there's another sacrifice scene, the chanting, and this time they have Indiana Jones helping them. A shirtless, ripped Indiana Jones is doing all the chanting with them and all that, right?
Oh, yeah. He's looking good in this movie.
Definitely.
In this time, Shorty manages to escape. Instead of using his pickaxe on the rocks, he uses it on the chain. Brilliant plan. And he escapes and comes up and kind of confronts Indiana Jones right after Indiana Jones has locked Willie into that same like lava cage that we saw from the earlier one. The earlier like sacrifice.
Yeah.
The
sacrifice cage, yeah. So just in time, Short Round shows up to stop Indy from doing this because they're making Indy sacrificer. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't tell. Okay, so like the moment he turns back into normal is when Short Round burns him with a torch. Is that right?
Yeah, I couldn't tell. They did it a second time, so I think it is fire. But at that time, I was like, is it fire or is it love? What was it that he needed to come back? You know, like.
Oh, yeah, that's a good question for the.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't tell, though, also if.
Maybe that'll be a question on the survey. What would it take to break you out of a trance? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I wasn't sure if when he got spit on by her, if that's when he came back.
Oh, maybe that's it.
But then she gets lowered down like almost into the pit all the way. Like he's participating in that the entire way. But I wasn't sure if after everything was said and done and he says to Short Round like, I'm all right, kid, and he like winks at him or whatever. If he was just playing along the entire time or if he was actually under control ever.
I think he was brainwashed. They made that pretty clear.
Yeah. I just wasn't sure if he was like going along with it and they had an idea that he was going to save her at the last minute or I don't know. But yeah. So at the last minute, I guess he he gets burned and he comes back to, I think it's more just the pain rather than fire itself, right? Just kind of like getting shocked and jolted back. Okay. Maybe it's the fire.
They don't really explain it. It could be a lot of things. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like hitting your head and like, you know, in movies where like hitting your head turns into like changing your mind or something.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
Do you think that walking across a floor of fortune cookies barefoot, would that be enough pain to wake you back up?
I think that'd feel good, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You know, you can taste through your feet, so that sounds pretty tasty. Yeah, so let's see what happens here. She's getting lowered down, gets almost into the lava pit, and
They did that like 5 times.
Yeah.
They would like bring her back up, and then she would fall back down, and they'd bring her back up, and then she'd fall back down.
Yeah,
It just felt like this perpetual battle to bring her up out of the lava pit.
One of the guys tries to stop Indy from raising her, and then they have a little fight on the wheel that's like turning that makes the chains go up and down, and that guy gets like smushed in between on that wheel.
Was that the guy that we first met, the smart guy? Okay.
At the palace. Right? Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if he died during that scene. He was kind of like in pain on the ground, and I can't remember if we see him again.
Oh, I just don't remember seeing him after that. And I kept expecting him to pop out at the very end when he was fighting the priest, but he didn't.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I did see that guy was the guy who played Dhalsim in Street Fighter, the movie.
Oh, really? Okay.
Little bad movie tidbit.
There we go.
Yeah, and the main guy, which is what's his name? Mola Ram, which I don't even think they say till the end of the movie.
Yeah.
He like kind of dips out. Indy's like going for him, and he rolls into this little opening underneath where the stones are.
I love that shot. It's so out of nowhere.
Yeah. He just is like, bye-bye, and he just kind of rolls out. This little like trap door goes out like a magician. And he rolls into it.
Such a strange little trap door. But yeah, that was a funny little scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so then we're kind of in the final act of this movie now. So Indy finally manages to pull Willie up out of the lava pit. He steals the 3 stones. They go in and free all of the children from the mines, right? And so we're kind of going through that stuff. And we end up with Indiana fighting this huge hulking guard on this rock conveyor belt. And Shorty ends up going up to fight the creepy little Maharaja kid, right?
Yeah. So yeah, there's like a fight on a rock conveyor. Did you say that already?
Yeah.
Yeah. The guy gets crushed in the rock conveyor belt, while Short Round is fighting the voodoo kid, the Maharaja.
This scene reminded me a lot. I know we haven't talked about it on here, but the Charlie's Angels.
That's what I was going to say.
That's like almost the same scene. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, minus the voodoo.
Minus the voodoo. You're right. And it didn't take place in a mine. It was like in a warehouse. But
yeah,
those Charlie's Angels movies took a lot of Indiana Jones stuff.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another rock crushing death. A rock.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever you want to call that thing, a rock crusher. So there's a little fight there. He tells him to get in the minecart. Oh, Short Round burns the Maharaja during this scene, and this snaps him back. Apparently, he was being possessed by the Black Sleep as well. Right?
Yes.
And that's why he was doing this voodoo on Indy. Oh, during that whole scene, he's like poking him in the back, and Indy's like falling over, and he can't quite keep up.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of voodoo stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel like they kind of had to make that little kid wake up, because otherwise, like a 10-year-old kid is like an evil bad guy that needed to get murdered. You know?
Yeah. It made sense.
It made sense. Yeah. Yeah.
And they make Short Round into an awesome fighter a little bit in this scene, because at one point he throws like the stick and it like knocks over 3 giant men that are coming towards him, like with one throw of like a piece of wood. But they get in a minecart, and the Maharaja tells him to take the left side, the left exit of the tunnel, right?
Yes. But they do not. They take the right tunnel. And it's so funny in that shot too, because like the left one is clearly like blue sky, and then the right one is like fire and brimstone. It's like bright red.
And there's like the keep out death signs
Yeah.
everywhere, like pieces of wood with like, skull and crossbones kind of stuff.
Yeah. And the rest of this movie from here, I think was my favorite part. The end of this movie is really fun because it's like Donkey Kong Country. You know, they're in a minecart. There's like a minecart chase. There's even one section where they jumped off of their track and landed on another track. Like a bad guy jumps from another minecart onto their minecart. It's just so manic and silly, and like it has so much momentum. I just thought the minecart stuff was really fun. And it kind of culminates. Fun. Do you have anything specific you wanted to talk about in this scene? I thought it was a really fun scene, and clearly Nintendo ripped it off for Donkey Kong Country.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
No, just that they're going super fast. They like throw a block of wood on the minecart and to try to slow it down, or like at the wheels or something. Let's see what happens. Oh, they like knock some kind of thing above them down and knocks the minecart off. At one point, he punches a guy off the back of his minecart, and that guy goes under the wheels of the minecart chasing them, and they fly off the ledge.
Yeah,
which was a fun little scene. I think that's the final part. The final guys, they're chasing them with guns, by the way, and they're like 10 feet behind them and shooting at them the entire time, and nobody gets hurt. And their heads are poking straight up.
Yeah, they're just like, sitting above. Yeah, exactly.
But then the end of this scene, the minecart is going super fast, and they're getting towards the end of it, and there's like a cliff.
They've lost their brakes at this point too. The brake handle snapped off.
Yeah. So Indy gets out and uses his feet to stop the minecart, and
like
his shoes, and they are on fire at the end of it, and he's like jumping around. His feet are just burning and burning. And he's yelling, "Water, water, water!" And then he looks up, and somebody had flooded the mine, so there is this giant amount of water coming down, and he sees that, and he's like, "So it's." I like the way he does
so
this.
Much fucking water. What was that tub for? What was that?
Know. Drinking
what
water?
Was that for?
Oh, maybe to drink? I don't know.
It's just, oh man, yeah. Like I love the action sequences in here are so great, but like there's so many parts where it's like that's only there so they can do like, you know.
Yeah.
There's a rope bridge right outside, and that's only so they can do a rope bridge thing. There's a giant, huge, enormous basin with like what seems to be millions of gallons of water that's just so that it can flush out the tubes at the end.
I mean, that giant water tank or whatever. I mean, it was a lot of water, sure, but this floods an entire tunnel, and they went for like a mile or two. I feel like, down this thing, and it's rushing through the entire thing, like flooding, then pouring out for like once it gets to the end for like several minutes, you know.
It's like pushing like logs through the sides.
It's like a full river. It's like you unleash the river, and the river is now free to pour through this tunnel.
It's so ridiculous.
Entertaining.
Very entertaining.
So
like I, said,
I like the way he delivers it.
This stuff is all great.
I like the way he's searching for water for his feet, and then he looks up and he's like changes the way he says it. Water. So they go at the end of the tunnel, and it's just a massive cliff. I thought they were going to jump. They don't. They go to the sides of the cliff, and the water just shoots out between them. And they're kind of hanging on for dear life here. How do they get up from there? Oh, I guess they just climb up.
It didn't really show it, but they just kind of climb up, and they meet up at this like rickety old wooden bridge, like a rope bridge with wooden slats across the bottom. Classic adventure trope, right?
Oh yeah.
And they start going across. There's gators underneath that are snapping. They can see people up there, and I guess that makes them hungry.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, the gators are rolling around and snapping.
Oh, they can smell them up there.
It's not just a massive drop, like a huge drop down a cliffside. There's gators in there too.
There's gators too. Yep.
Because you could survive a fall into the water. Sure, maybe I could believe that, but not with gators in there.
Not with gators, dude.
That. And every time, every time somebody falls, getting a little ahead, they're immediately torn apart by gators. It's not like
they cut back to the gators snapping their mouths like 200 times. It's like every other shot. It was great.
So she's scared to go across this bridge, and then Short Round's like, "No, good bridge, safe, strong bridge," and he's jumping on it. And of course, it breaks.
Yep.
Just a little piece of comedy, I think. Yeah.
And in here too, there's a really nice callback to Raiders of the Lost Ark when they're Indiana Jones is like running to meet up with them and runs into two guys with swords. And in the first movie, there was this sword master. We talked about it last week that he pulls his gun and shoots him, and it was because he had diarrhea and they didn't want to actually shoot the fight scene. But it ended up being like one of the more iconic moments from Raiders of the Lost Ark. In this one, there's two guys with swords, and he reaches for his gun, and it's not there. So he actually has to fight these two guys. So I thought that was a nice little callback to the first one.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
So he does that. He fights them,
Mm-hmm.
goes to the bridge, catches up, and I think the other two get to the other side of the bridge, and he's like halfway across, and then gets surrounded on either side by thuggies and the Mola Ram guy.
Yep.
And so comes to this final scene here, and they're on the bridge, and Indy's got a giant sword that he got from one of those guys. And there's a showdown. What happens here, Chris?
Yeah, so Indy's kind of surrounded. He's got these guys, these thuggies on either side coming in on the bridge. And his solution, he speaks to a Short Round in Chinese a little bit to clue them in on what's about to happen. And then he uses the sword to cut through the rope bridge, which dumps a bunch of the bad guys into the river. And we get all those shots of the alligators just chomping. And Indiana Jones manages to kind of wrap himself up in the bridge, and same with Shorty and Willie. And so the bridge separates, and the two sides swing to the cliffs on either side. And Shorty and Willie are able to climb up to the top. And there's a little showdown between Maharam. Am I saying that name right? I might be. Maharam and Indiana Jones.
Mola Ram.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There's a little showdown there at the end. Indiana Jones still has the stones that he stole in a little like satchel over his shoulder. And do you want to walk us through this end, because it was kind of an insane way to kill off the Indian priest?
Well,
or the thuggy priest.
They're both like climbing up the ladder, trying to get up and kind of fighting for position on there. And then at some point he catches up to him, and the priest tries to steal the bag of stones, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're kind of like playing tug of war with that. And Indy starts chanting something. He says, "You have deceived Shiva." He's like talking about how you betrayed Shiva, blah, blah, blah. He says it over and over again about betraying Shiva. And then the stones start to catch on fire.
They glow like red hot and burn through the sides of the satchel that he's got them in.
Yeah. So, and then the guy falls, or is he trying to catch the stones or something?
Two of them fall into the river, and the third one falls out. The priest tries to grab it, but it's too hot, so he burns his hand and ends up dropping it and falling to his death. Again, we get a shot of the gators chomping. And in that intervening time, it cooled off so much that Indiana is able to just grab it himself, and it's all fine.
Did it show him doing that? Because I kind of missed it, and then all of a sudden he had a stone at the end. I was surprised.
It did show that, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, so that's that. The guy's dead. He got a stone, one of the 3 stones.
Well, there's one more scene, which I think is a big reason why this movie is probably not played in India. Do you remember who comes to the rescue? Because there's still thuggy archers shooting at him.
Oh, yeah. So there's still the archers, and then good old Colonial Pete comes along.
That's right.
What is his name?
I'm just looking.
You said Blumbutt earlier.
Yeah, Blumbutt. Colonel Blumbutt. And the British show up to save the day in India. Yay!
Yay, hooray.
Yeah. It's not great. But Indiana Jones, at this point, returns the stone to the village, and all the little kids that were working in the mine return to the village too. So they've done a good job of kind of bringing joy and bringing water and whatever else back to the village. Even though there's some weird racist undertones to this movie, it ends with a happy
definitely
ending.
Colonial undertones. Yeah, colonialism. Yeah.
There's a reason this one's not loved quite as much as the first and the third.
There's a little callback at the end with they're about to kiss. Like they're still playing hard to get with each other, and they're finally about to kiss, and then Short Round squirts them or the elephant squirts him with water that Short Round's on, and he says it's very funny, very funny. Little callback to the earlier scene where she gets squirted with water as well.
Yeah.
And that's how it ends, with all the kids like hugging them and saying, coming up to them and surrounding them, because they saved the day.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, like you're saying, it's not as beloved as the other ones, maybe, or as good. Steven Spielberg said it's his least favorite of the ones that he directed.
Okay.
Which was everything except for this newest one that's about to come out.
Oh, did he not direct the new one?
No.
Oh, okay.
James Mangold.
Who's that?
He did like a Wolverine movie that was pretty good. Solo.
Oh, I did like that one. Okay, cool.
And then he did like 3:10 to Yuma and some other stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But Logan, that's the one. That's the one
I figured that was the one you were talking about. Yeah, that one was cool.
Yeah. What'd you think of this movie, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, it was ridiculous. Like the set design is so over the top, and parts of it are so offensive. But then mixed in with that, there's some classic Indiana Jones moments and some really fun, like those scenes at the end with the bridge and with the mine carts. I thought were just super fun and super dynamic. So yeah, I mean, the first one's a stone cold classic. This is not that, but it still has some parts that are fun, even if there are some problematic parts to just kind of, the way that they show the people in India.
You literally could just cut out that last scene with the British showing up, and I think it makes it better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because then the bad guys are the cult and not necessarily Indian people, and you're not making the British the good guys. Yeah, I think you're probably right. That would fix some things, but
yeah,
the monkey brains. There's some other parts of this that aren't great.
Yeah, the food stuff is like, I don't know. It could be offensive. It could just be like, oh, these specific guys that we're watching here are out of their minds or whatever, like eating all these crazy things. And some, you go to those wet markets or whatever, like in Thailand, there's people eating scorpions, like random shit. It's kind of like, there are some places where you eat some crazy stuff, but they definitely went overboard for like comedic effect here.
Yeah. This movie, when it was made, all that stuff still flies, but today I think there's a bunch of the stuff that would have to get cut out of this movie.
Just cut out the British Army general. Like he served no purpose. Didn't really do anything. They could have just had all those people, like they were still shooting arrows, but you don't even have to show the arrows coming. Like the bridge was cut, so that part was over. They didn't need to be saved even. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed watching it. It was a lot of fun. It's a little too crazy. The girl is super annoying. But a lot of great set pieces, and like definitely felt like, obviously they could do more of these movies. It wasn't quite the stakes, like you said, with the archaeology aspect that it should have been.
Yeah, like that stuff I think was really important to kind of setting the stage in the first one, and they didn't really do any of that in this. This just got straight to the set pieces.
Yeah. But overall, I enjoyed it. And it did, I was going to say, it won an Oscar for Best Visual Effects. So there's definitely some like fun, entertaining sides of this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which brings me to our next segment or our first ever segment called "Where's the Beef?"
There it is. Where is the beef, Tanner? Explain this segment to me.
Basically, I just want to talk about. I guess we kind of already. I already fucked up the segment. Talk about what you didn't like about the movie, or like
okay.
what beef do you have with this movie? Is the segment. And obviously it's the cow pun that got me to that point.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have beef with this movie, there's no beef.
I mean, I think we already kind of touched on it. I think it's missing some of the setup that made the first movie so enjoyable for me. And there's some problematic colonialist undertones to this. It does not surprise me that it's banned in India. I'll leave it there. We've already kind of hit all this stuff.
Yeah, my beef is with Willie. I think she's obviously that other stuff too, but she's like the one that we're with the entire movie, and we have to like listen to her scream 71 times in the movie, and it's not even the actress's fault necessarily. It's just like the screenwriter director's fault for making this character so
one-dimensional
and annoying, and just like even when she's being nice, she's like kind of has this tinge of just like she's stuck up and rude and hates everyone.
And she's kind of greedy too. Her ears always perk up when they're talking about diamonds.
Yeah, exactly. She's just really unlikable in every aspect.
Yeah.
Like Marion's so badass, but then has some annoying, like they make her a little shrill and screaming as well. And screaming for Indy all the time, but she makes up for it in the rest of her personality. Anyway, that's all I got on that.
That's your beef. I'm into it.
Welcome Kate Capshaw. Here she is. Yeah, that's my beef. Maybe we'll nail down the specific segments at another time.
That sounds great.
Lastly, I want to talk about the box office of this movie. This movie was made for $28 million. Pretty low budget, I feel like, even for the time. And not that much more than the first one. The first one was $20 million. This one only got a little bit more for such a huge movie. The first one was so huge. But it did make $333 million worldwide.
Jesus.
Massive hit. No surprise there. Yeah. This was Spielberg made Raiders of the Lost Ark, obviously, in 1981, and then made E.T. right after that, and then made this right after that. So he is at his peak right now.
What a hot streak, man.
I mean, basically from 75 to 90, maybe even 2000, he was just killing it. I mean, in 93, he had Jurassic Park and Schindler's List in the same year. And Jurassic Park literally changed everything. I mean, like, that's one of the most iconic movies ever.
Maybe the best blockbuster of all time. Yeah.
Yeah, and then won an Academy Award for Best Picture with Schindler's List in the same year.
That's nuts. Just completely nuts.
Yeah. He's really dynamic. His movies in like the mid 2000s kind of started to wane, but he had some good ones up until then, Saving Private Ryan, Catch Me If You Can. Yeah. Still makes good movies. Maybe not as great as, you can't live up
one of the best to ever do it, if not the best though, He's that guy for a reason. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. What else, Chris? Anything else you want to talk about? I do have maybe a couple more facts for you.
Yeah, I'm out of notes, man. So whatever else you got, hit me with it.
I talked a lot about Kate already. I did see that Kwan, Ke Huy Quan, is that what it is?
Is that Short Round?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously he won Best Supporting Actor this past year at the Oscars for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Which was presented. Harrison Ford presented the Best Picture award when that won. Which I thought was cool. But
I saw a cute picture of the two of them together. Is that
Yeah.
where you're getting to?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there was that. That basically what I was gonna say was he showed up. He didn't show up to audition. There's like 6,000 kids that showed up to audition for this role. He came with his brother for emotional support, and then somehow got the job because Indiana or Harrison Ford just liked him, or like they had something happen where he came in contact with him, and he liked the cut of his jib. So anyway, he got the role out of nowhere.
Do you think that kid's brother like hates him secretly?
That's what I was getting at. Yeah,
he must.
I mean,
he stole the opportunity of a lifetime, and I bet it was only because of this movie that this guy got to be in Goonies, and and he won an Oscar this year.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't act for a long time, but he got lucky with this movie coming back at the right time with Everything Everywhere. Let's see. There was the bedroom scene where he fought the guy in the ceiling fan and the whip and all that.
Sure.
I keep calling him Indy. Harrison Ford got a herniated disc during that scene and they had to halt production so he could go have spinal surgery.
Ew, yikes.
And a lot of scenes were filmed with his stunt double, who apparently looked just like him. So they were able to like continue with a bunch of stunts. Yeah. Oh, so, some other little tidbits here. All these characters were named after writers and directors' dogs. So Indiana was George Lucas's dog. I don't know if we touched on that last week.
I did. We did not. I had no idea.
Yeah. So George Lucas had a dog named Indiana. That's where that name came from. Short Round was a dog that the writer had, the screenwriter. It was a different screenwriter than last time. Willard Huyck. His dog was named Short Round, and then Spielberg's dog was named Willie.
Okay, that actually answers some questions for me, because I think that Short Round and Willie are both terrible names for those characters.
Yeah, I mean, Short Round
and
is
so
like,
if there's like a theme, that's fine. But like Willie as a girl's name is weird, and Short Round is a really weird name to call just a small Asian kid. He's not fat.
Yeah, I mean, he's short.
Because he's a child. We were all short, Tanner.
Not me. How dare you?
Oh, you were born tall?
I came out very tall.
Okay. I stand corrected.
No. Yeah. Yeah, it's bizarre. I do think it's interesting that Spielberg named his dog, or his dog was named Willie, and he named this girl character in the movie Willie, and then he later married that girl. Do you think that he wanted to secretly marry his dog?
I missed your question at the end. Hit me with it one more time.
Do you think
I was laughing too hard?
Do you think he wanted to marry his dog? Is that what happened?
I mean, I'm not going to put that bad voodoo on Steven Spielberg, but that is a funny little connection. Do you think he wanted to marry his dog?
Oh no, but okay. I thought it would be funny to ask. Yeah, I think that's all I got. Other than he taught Quan how to. Quan how to swim at one point. Harrison Ford taught him how to swim on set. So they had a good connection is what I was trying to set up there. Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up this pod?
I don't know. I'm excited to get back next week with Last Crusade, because I remember liking that one. It's been probably 10 years, but this one did have some great moments. It was fun revisiting this one as well. Yeah,
I know we also talked about the franchise MVP, or like movie MVP.
Oh yeah.
Did you want to go over who your MVP of this movie was?
Music was still great. I think we both said John Williams last week was a solid choice.
Yeah.
I think I really enjoyed Harrison Ford in this movie, but I think it might just have been because Willie was so shrill and Short Round was kind of annoying at times too. Man, outside of that, and then I mean, I mentioned it already, but I just really love those last couple scenes with the bridge and with the mining carts. I thought those were both really fun adventure scenes.
Yeah.
What would your MVP be here?
Yeah, definitely just the special effects, I guess, to sum it all up. Yeah,
Okay.
the action set pieces and sequences are great, and the music as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I change my
Lastly,
answer to Dan Aykroyd?
oh god, he was so good.
He was so good, dude.
It was very funny.
Just leapt
Um,
off the screen. I didn't even notice.
he's one of those scene stealers. Yeah, exactly. He disappeared into character so much.
Exactly.
I didn't even see him.
He was doing method for those 2 lines that they gave him.
Yeah. Do you think this film warranted a third sequel?
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
I'm amazed that there's still only 4 of these, soon to be 5. You can make these things forever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I can only imagine just because they want to do other things, you know. But I do think we talked about it last week. They could definitely switch out Indiana Jones instead of making him like this legacy character and like replacing him with sons or daughters or whatever. Just full James Bond it, you know, make a new, just a new actor as Indiana
no explanation,
Jones.
just a new actor playing the part.
No explanation, just not like some lineage thing that doesn't have to be that every time. Yeah, I think there's so many things they could do, so many old artifacts they could go find. A lot of fun stuff that we mentioned. Video games got into that, and they did a lot of that stuff where it's Indiana Jones in this adventure, which I like that they took that liberty. I'll have to play some games, I think, for next week and talk about them.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds great.
But yeah, they could definitely have kept going forever. And also, I was wondering, do you think that they should have brought Marion back as have the same girl every time as his love interest, or do you like it better that they switch it out every time?
It's a good question. Switching it out every time is more James Bondy, you know,
yeah.
It's kind of funny that they're switching out the girls, but not switching out the main character. I'm fine with them having a new love interest. You know, I think it makes him being kind of like a, ladies' man is part of the appeal, right? And if you have a female lead that's the same across the movies, that you can't tell those types of stories. But I don't know. Marion was just such a better female lead. I think if they had just written the character better, I would have been perfectly happy with this. But they named it after a dog and made her scream 71 times.
I wonder, I just had the thought that maybe his dog was a yipper. And his dog barked all the time, it was really annoying, little dog or something.
Yeah.
And they're like, let's make him not only name her after the dog, but let's make her the personality of my dog.
Yes, we'll add the line in there.
A Jack
now
Russell
she
Terrier.
will not talk. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. That honestly could have been the case.
Yeah, they used the joke twice in this movie that she broke a nail.
Yeah.
Zero is enough, and they did it twice. It really pounded that point home.
Yeah. 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 Big hit here. Everyone loved it, or not everyone loved it, but I think it was people were definitely around for more. They wanted more, and I think home video was just coming around VHS at this time, so it became one of those movies everybody owned. You just had to have all the Indiana Jones movies VHS.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let's wrap up the pod.
Do we have do we have a tagline at the end? What are we doing here?
Don't we moo or something?
I think we moo. You got this sound queued up?
Oh God. Yeah, so we'll see you next week for our next movie. Bye.
Bye.
I did it again.
Yeah, you kicked yourself.